The 80-20 rule is absolutely brutal. And that's what makes it so beautiful and so useful, because it's so brutal. You have to understand, how are you applying the 80-20 rule? How do you interpret the 80-20 rule? What does it really mean when I look at it from a revenue lens or I look at it from a profit or EBITDA lens? It's dramatically different based on how you use it, and its brutality is awesome.
Welcome to Future Zeros, a series focused on growing and monetizing your financial advisor practice with minimum risk and maximum value, adding zeros to the bottom line today and when it's time to monetize your practice. Your host is Mike Walters, CEO of USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of, and securities are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
You cannot have a legitimate discussion about tacking zeros onto the valuation of your practice if you have not dealt with client segmentation, most specifically, not just the segmentation of the revenue that those clients bring in and groupings from top down to bottom, but more specifically, the expense burden that then goes along with the services provided based upon what level of client they are. This is unbelievably important, and you really have to dive into it. It's about minimizing risk in your practice and maximizing growth. And in order to do that, you have to start with the Pareto principle discussion. Now, if you're not familiar with that terminology, you probably know it better as the 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule is unbelievably powerful, and in ways that most people just kind of jet past. They assume they understand what the 80-20 rule means, and they go past the most important part of it. So there was a great article that I hang on to. It was from the Forbes magazine back in 2022, and it was titled, "The 80-20 Rule is Brutal. That's Why It Works." And that's a pretty powerful statement. It's a pretty accurate statement, but it's interesting, because what the 80-20 rule is really about is understanding the differences between revenue and profits. So at the revenue side of the equation, the 80-20 rule is probably what you already know, that 20% of your clients drive 80% of the revenue. Now, if you peel that back one more layer, what you'll find is the next 30% of your clients, so the first grouping after the top 20, the next 30% of the clients generate on average 16% of the revenue. So 30 plus 20 is 50%. So that's the top half of your book of business. The bottom half of your clients, the bottom half of your book of business drives therefore only 4% of your overall revenue. So here comes the crux of the matter. If we're now pivoting off of revenue over to profits, if you are treating all clients the same, if you have not gone through client segmentation processes, you have not gone through that strategy, which we do a tremendous amount of work in that area here at USA Financial. The Advisor Protocol team will help you with that if you need assistance there. But nonetheless, when we go from revenue over to profits, if you are treating all clients the same, the studies, the way this article discusses it, the average business then would find that the top 20% of their clients are driving 150% of their profits. Let that sink in for a minute. We're not talking about revenue. We're talking about profits, bottom line, EBITDA, the bottom line profit. The top 20% of your clients are driving 150% of your profits, which means the bottom 80% of your clients are sucking you back down to 100% of your profits. Therefore, the top 20% of your clients are essentially underrating the experience and the services for the bottom 80%. Now imagine if those clients knew that. You'd probably have a problem on your hands. But now that you know that, you have an even bigger problem, because you're giving away profits. You need to identify and subset and segment those clientele and coordinate that over against the services and the experience provided so that they line up appropriately. Each subset of your client base should stand on its own two legs from a profitability standpoint. And if that's the case, now the top 20% becomes ultra profitable, but that profit comes all the way down because the next bottom 20 or bottom 80% is not now sucking away, in that earlier example, 50% of the profits. It's actually, even if it just breaks even, now you're at a 50% gain overall. So it's a really powerful concept. The difference is understanding the revenue portion of the 80-20 rule and contrasting it against the profit portion or the EBITDA portion of the 80-20 rule. We embrace this, we coach to it, we mentor to it. We'll help you get there if you don't know how.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and are not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.